Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got our guest co-host, Lauren LaRosa here. And we got a special guest in the building.
The champ is here.
UFC champion, Sean O'Malley. Welcome, brother.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for allowing me to come on.
Happy to have you, brother.
Thank you.
How many Ice Spice jokes have you heard since Ice Spice came out, man?
Not too many.
Okay.
I definitely heard a few.
Yeah, people not going to play with you like that.
They're not going to say it to his face.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm just not hearing it. Yeah, maybe that's what
They
it
say it
is.
from far away, maybe on Instagram. So, of course, you're a UFC champion. So, for people that don't know, how'd you get into boxing, UFC, MMA? What made you say, I want to fight and possibly get beat up in the ring?
Well, I grew up playing team sports, football, basketball, soccer, baseball. When I was 16, I kind of wanted just, one-on-one sport. Insecure kid going into high school, wanted to get chicks. That was pretty much comes down to it.
What had you feeling insecure?
Just acne, small kid, high school stuff. Just wasn't the cool kid, wasn't the jock. Wanted to be the cool kid.
Did you get bullied or?
I didn't really feel like I got bullied. Yeah.
Because it's usually like when you talk to certain boxers or people who use their hands for a living, they always say that at some point they were getting in a lot of fights, so they decided to take that energy and actually channel it to doing it for real.
Yeah, I think for me it's I love competition. I love the competitiveness of just sports in general. And then when I went and started boxing, I was a natural. I think I was just very athletic from playing all the other sports that it just came real natural for me. So I'm from Montana. There's no real good gyms in Montana. So we'd go to the gym, we'd spar, and I was like dotting these dudes up. Just a couple practices in, I was like, just naturally felt really good. Was taking fights, knocking people out when I was 16 years old, and just got a lot of confidence from that.
Did you get the chicks though?
I was gonna say, did it help you?
It did. It did help with the chicks. A little confidence, a little swagger. It did help with the chicks.
They weren't like, oh, you're too violent.
No. I never felt. It's weird. I never felt, and I still don't. Sometimes this fight with Chito, it feels a little bit different, but I never really feel like it's like a personal or violent. I look at it as like a sport. It's like it doesn't seem just like super violent, which is weird to say or think about because it is so violent. But yeah, it's definitely like my last fight against Aljo. I just had to go out there and snipe his chin, and it didn't feel like I had to go out there and hurt him. Just wanted to, take him out.
How do you
say
get
it so as a matter of fact?
I know, snipe his chin.
Snipe his chin.
Just wanted to go out there and rough him up a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like a sniper. I feel like I'm just, this thing's dangerous. Knocked a lot of people out with this right hand, and I just gotta land it on the right spot, and they'll fall.
What got you in the UFC opposed to boxing? Why didn't you say, I'm a boxer, and this is where I'm gonna put some gloves on, and what say, what I wanna?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. Like thinking back when I was, because I remember 16, 17 years old, I just boxed and kickboxed. I didn't do any grappling. I would actually, before my practice, there was jiu-jitsu, and I would go, be a little early like I always am, and I would see those guys doing jiu-jitsu, and I thought it was I was like, that's a little gay. I don't like that. I don't really like that. Just not my thing. Wrestling
now
around.
Have jiu-jitsu fighters running up on you.
No. I love jiu-jitsu. My favorite sport now.
Yeah.
But when I was 16, 17, I'm like boxing, kickboxing. That's the way to go. That's the sweetest. That's sweet. Knocking people out. And then I turned 18. And I tried an MMA fight, and I had very, very, very little skills, like wrestling, jiu-jitsu. I had very little skills, but it was smaller gloves, and it was just a different feeling making a walk to a cage, to where it felt barbaric. It felt savage. It felt different than boxing.
People say the money is not that great when you start off. Like it's very small, and it makes a lot of people not want to do it.
Yeah, it's tricky because the big boxing fights, the main event's making a lot of money, and everyone else is making $1,000. And in the UFC, it's like everyone in the middle is making a decent amount of money. The top guys are making quite a bit of money. That's where I'm at right now. I feel like I'm making. I'm not going to complain about how much I'm making. The UFC gave me a platform to be able to sell merch. My guy over here is rocking it. Love it, yes sir. Big brand deals. So I'm making a lot of money outside the UFC because of the platform the UFC is giving me, and I'm not going to complain about what I'm making in the UFC. I'm very happy with what I'm making. This next fight, I get pay-per-view points. So that's gonna be, that's a big deal.
What's your star power? Because I feel like when people talk about like Dana White and some of the way that he's changed like different industries, he finds like stars in the ring, and they have their like celebrity thing. Like, do you know like what is your thing?
You up there?
I think it comes down to performances. Like if I'm not knocking these dudes out like I have been, like my highlight reel is pretty fucking crazy right now. If it comes down to that, and then everything else on top of it. You got the hair, you got the the style, the face tattoos, the craziness of it all. It doesn't matter, and none of that matters if I'm not knocking people out. So that's what it comes down to, and that's where people are like, oh, they're just building you as a star. It's like I'm giving them stuff to work with. I'm knocking dudes out cold.
I want to go back to the insecurity thing because I find that interesting. Like physically, you're doing something that you're dominating people physically, but internally, how do you fix what was going on?
I think I just grew up, matured. 16, 17, you're just so young. Like I'm 29 now, so I feel like I'm, definitely mature. I still got a lot to work on, as everyone does, but I feel like, yeah, just going into high school, I literally was. I feel like everyone goes through it, just insecure. But I don't really feel. I mean, that's why you always see me with at least 2 of my watches on, or what does Kanye say? No, but yeah, I feel like it's always gonna be there. But for the most part, one of the biggest lessons I've learned is to not really give a fuck what people think.
That's right.
Like I feel like I learned that growing up.
What did your family say with jumping into UFC, with it being such a violent sport?
Yeah, my mom hated it until she started seeing, like, more recently within the last, like, 3-4 years, like, she's seeing, like, okay, he's making money. Like, we're good. My dad was always just, like, a fan of watching me compete because he hated the fact that when I got into high school, basketball, football started to kind of go away because I didn't really get good grades. I didn't really like going to school at all. I fucking hated school. And, boxing, kickboxing wasn't school related, so I could do that without having to get good grades. And he just wanted to see me compete. He loved going to my sports. So he just, he was down for me to go, do whatever as long as he could go and watch.
Do you remember your first fight outside of the ring?
I never really got into any scraps outside of the ring. I didn't like confrontation. I would avoid it. I would be, I'd hide if something popped off. Like
That's
I didn't,
so ironic.
I didn't like it at all.
But
So
then
how
you get
do
in
you-
the ring and you just turn on.
I just feel like I could just access this flow state. I've learned how to kind of, get there, and I feel like I can just show up. There's some people that have tough time showing up, and they have an off night. I feel like I've learned how to get into the right mindset and to not have an off night.
What's that practice or that ritual? Because, like,
Breathing. Just follow my breath. I've learned about meditating probably 7-8 years ago. Started like with an app, Waking Up app. The Sam Harris neuroscientist kind of like would teach you how to meditate. Start with 3 minutes a day, and then it was like a 30-day course, and then 5 minutes a day, and then 10 minutes a day. And I've stuck with that very religiously. 10 minutes in the morning. When I'm in camp, I feel like I'm a lot more dialed in. Fight camps usually for me 10 to 12 weeks of just serious discipline. But the breath is kind of how I feel like I can get into that flow state.
I love meditation. Also, that breathing in the ring helps you too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so have you ever taken a shot and then had to regroup in real time?
The hardest I've been hit, I fought Peter Yan, this little Russian. He was #1 ranked dude. I fought him in Abu Dhabi last October. I took a hard shot. And it's weird. I don't really have very many vivid memories being in the octagon because I feel like I'm so present that I'm not even thinking, and it's hard for me. They're random vivid memories, but I remember eating that left hand, and that was kind of, that was the hardest I had been hit. But yeah, I feel like I don't have too many vivid memories being in the octagon. It's weird.
You ever get scared in that ring at all?
Not in the ring. No, like I wouldn't say scared. There's like my last fight when I fought Aljo. He was the champ, defended the belt more than anybody, considered the greatest bantamweight of all time. 6 weeks out, I had a rib injury, and I had a muscle strain in my rib, and rib injuries take forever to heal. So I literally couldn't grapple, and I'm fighting the best grappler in the division. And for 6 weeks, I couldn't grapple, and that's what I was kind of focusing on leading up the 6 weeks prior to that, about a 12-week camp. So 6 weeks, I'm grappling a lot. And then I get this injury. So for 6 weeks, I couldn't grapple. I dealt with some. I wouldn't call it fear because I feel like win or lose, my life's good. Like as long as I don't get a serious injury, like I'll be all right. So I had some mental demons. I was battling that going into that fight. But by the time the fight came around, I accepted whatever happens. I know what I'm capable of. I know that I can put this dude's lights out, and I just trusted that, believed in myself, and went out there, and it's crazy how that fight played out. It was like a dream. I still sometimes feel like I'm going to wake up and be like, fuck, I still got to go out there and do that.
Did it help you realize you can rise above any obstacle?
Yeah, I feel like I always knew I could do that, but to go out there and do it is different, and it gave me a lot of confidence. But yeah.
Do you turn off immediately after losing the ring? I mean, leaving the ring.
You're riding a pretty crazy high after that.
If you win or just in general?
Well, after winning. You're on a crazy high for a little bit, but I try to keep myself humble, try to ground myself a little bit. It helps. I have a 3-year-old little princess.
Yeah.
So that helps.
As soon as you see her, you get grounded.
Yeah, that helps you just like, okay, we don't gotta go to the club every weekend. Let's fucking chill out for a little bit. But that life can pull you in for sure.
Do you see what everybody's doing with a lot of MMA fighters going to boxing, right? Because they say boxing pays a lot more. Are you thinking about that, looking at that?
Yeah, and I think for me, obviously, yeah, there's a fat payday there, but I love it as just like the competition, the competitive aspect. Like, you saw Francis go out there and do what he did with Tyson. It was a very competitive fight. Unbelievable. And it's just that competitiveness that, I've been going back and forth with a lot of boxers in the last couple of weeks, talking shit back and forth. But yeah, I mean, I would be willing to put it on the line and go out there and try to box these guys. I would 100% do that.
You what you at 135? You fight at like
135, yeah. Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia,
yeah.
These guys.
Devin Haney.
But those guys would never come into my world.
No.
And I'm like, you guys got to be careful on Twitter talking shit, because you guys got to at least say, I could beat you in a boxing match. Like, they're throwing on the word fight around. That's not their world. We fight. These guys box. Boxing is a sweet sport. I don't want to take anything from it, but it is two different things.
Yeah, I'm always amazed by the discipline of the MMA fighters when they fight boxers to get hit and just not reflect automatically in the neck or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of MMA spar. We box and kickbox, spar at the gym leading up to fights. Like, we'll have specific days. Wednesday we'll kickbox. Saturday we'll MMA spar. So you kind of you do just do specific things to where you can't. But I'm sure, if you're getting your ass kicked and you could just throw up a little head kick on accident, be all right.
Boxing wise, who do you think would be somebody you could actually get in there with and do something with? Out of Devin Haney, Tank, and Ryan. Yeah,
I've truly never watched the Devin Haney fight. I know how good he is. I know everyone says how good he is. I've never watched him fight. I watched Gervonta versus Ryan Garcia. It's a very, very high level. I just have belief in myself that I could go out there and compete with these guys, especially if I have a true camp. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I go out there and get smoked. I don't think so. I truly believe in my skill set and my preparation, that I know how to prepare for a fight and I know how to show up that night. And that's such a big deal, showing up that night. Doesn't matter if you can show up in sparring, but you got to show up that specific night, at that specific time, in that specific location, and do your thing. And I believe I can do that better than anyone.
How much credit would you give Snoop's commentary?
Oh, huge.
From that night.
Massive.
And boosting your career.
Massive. It's crazy how my career's played out, and that was like the beginning of the craziness. Like, Snoop Dogg's commentating on a fight when I'm 21, 22 years old in the Contender Series, the first time they've done it, and I knocked that dude out, and he yells O'Malley about 30 times, and that was crazy. Being able to hang out with Snoop after or meet him, and he still calls me Sugar Shane, so. That's all. I mean, we're working on that.
What's the conversation with Snoop?
You don't like Sugar?
I'm like, hey, it's Sean, but
but it's Snoop though, so you go with it.
Yeah. I was like, just call me nephew. We'll just stay with that.
Nephew.
Call me nephew.
What was y'all conversation like after?
Holy shit! I don't even remember. I just got so high.
Oh, like, we were smoked with him.
Yeah, we were in the trailer.
Hit this, nephew.
And they were just kept passing around. I was just like, and then I walked out of the trailer. We're just in a small trailer. And I walked out, and there's a bunch of cameras, a bunch of people around, and like I hadn't smoked probably for 3-4 weeks because I was leading up to a fight. Just got done winning, just got done crazy knockout, just got signed to the UFC. Now I'm smoking with Snoop. Then I'm walking out of this trailer. Like, that felt like a movie. That was crazy. So I don't remember what we talked about at all.
You were probably trying to hang too, cause he be going.
Oh yeah. I was probably in there for like 20 minutes, and I might not have been. I could have been in there for 3 hours, actually. I don't know.
You don't even remember.
I don't remember.
So clearly, UFC don't have no weed policy.
No, UFC, that's the coolest thing about the UFC, too. It's not just that, but we have, for the most part, freedom of speech. We can say whatever we want. A lot of these NFL guys, NBA guys, like, they're very restricted to what they can say, tweet, talk about, come on certain shows. So that's another thing with Dana and the UFC. It's like they're very relaxed.
Does that impact you in the ring, though, as an athlete? Like, does the smoking affect you? I think I saw, I could be wrong. I remember Andre Ward said one time, if you've taken a drink in the last decade, you can't beat me in a fight.
Huh. I use the Volcano. Are you familiar with Volcano? vaporizer device. Heats up the marijuana right to the right temperature. It's supposedly, the healthiest way for you to use marijuana. So I stick to that. Every once in a while I'll smoke a joint. Pretty much stayed away from bongs and pipes. But
it's like a humidifier, basically.
It's kind of, it fills up this bag, vaporizes it, and I use that pretty much every day. But when the closer I get out to a fight, about 3-4 weeks, I'll completely stop, extra clear-headed. But as far as like the lungs, I think the vaporizer doesn't really affect me. As like a joints though, fuck me up. Yeah.
Does it help with any physical ailments?
Dude, if you hit a bag and you're real sore and you go I have a hot tub at my house, sauna, cold plunge, red light, PEMF machine. I have all these workout machines or recovery machines. You can tell you if you get like, okay, I'm gonna get high. I'm gonna go in there for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I'm just gonna stretch and do all my stuff. I think it helps you get into a way, just like relax way more than if not. So I think there's benefits there. But then sometimes you hit that bag and you go sit on the couch and you're probably not getting up for a little bit. So you just got to make sure you're like, all right, I'm going to go and do this and just hold yourself accountable and go fucking do that. I think there's a lot of benefit in that.
You only got one loss on your record mentally.
Supposedly.
Supposedly.
Yeah. How were you able to bounce back from that? In my eyes, it was a very, very lucky kick. He threw a kick and I pulled out and his big fucking toe. I've watched it in slow motion so many times. His big toe hit this right behind my knee, this perennial nerve, and it causes drop foot. So my foot I couldn't lift my foot. So every time I'd walk forward in the fight in the first round, my ankle would roll. I think I rolled it like 7 times within like 30 seconds. And it's hard for me to even watch that back because I just kept rolling my ankle and it wouldn't come back. And before the fight, I had both my ankles wrapped. And before I walked out, I was having my coach, I'm like, hey, this one's a little tight. Will you like try to loosen it up a bit? So once that nerve went away, I feel like I just couldn't get it back. And, I blitzed him through a little. I was still piecing him up with one foot. And, I threw a combo, step back, foot completely gave out, ended up on my back, elbowed me in the head a couple times. Fight's over. I just didn't feel like I got beat skill for skill. I didn't go in there and feel like this guy is better than me. So I don't feel like it's affected me at all, ever. As like, I've never felt like I've lost a fight. And now I'm rematching that dude in March, and that's fucking exciting.
You're the most humble, not humble person I've ever. I love this for you. You over here talking heavy, but just real chill.
Thank you.
But even with that though, right? Like wanting to get back, do you tell yourself, "Oh, I want revenge"? Like you can psych yourself out and be too, overconfident. Yeah,
I mean, I'm gonna have to definitely balance that going into this fight. I personally don't feel like I'll have an issue with that. Like I'm gonna use this for the next. I mean, it's 4 months out. I'm gonna use that energy to get training camps are long. They're brutal. You find every little inch of inspiration or motivation you can find to get up, go to the next practice. I feel like I'm gonna use that. Fight week comes around. Usually my fight weeks, I'm more calm than I ever am. Like it's fight day. Like UFC's doing a crazy documentary that they're gonna put out next year, and they're following me around before the fight week in the back, like leading up to the fight. And I think it'll show on camera how calm I am in the back. And it's like because I'm constantly all day following my breath, just in a very different state of mind. And so I think I'll be able to get to that going into this fight, but I'll be able to use that energy and that get back to get me through this camp.
How'd you feel when you had to face off with him the other day?
Felt good. Felt so good. Yeah. Like it's happening. Because after that fight, everyone's like, ask for a rematch. And I feel like I could have been like, hey, I want that back. But I said, I want this fight when it makes the most sense. That was August 2020. August 2023, I knock out Aljo, become champ. Chito's on the same card as me. And I said the whole fight week, if he and I both win, that's the fight I want. That's when I want it.
Makes sense.
He goes out there, wins a boring fight, whatever. I go out there, do my thing, and here we are.
You think you was too early fighting him? Were you not ready yet?
I was better than him. I would have beat him. I was beating him before that happened. It was a lucky kick. Like I'm like, why hasn't that dude kicked anyone else's nerve yet? It happens every once in a while. Like there's thousands of leg kicks that get thrown every year, and that happens a couple times, 2-3 times a year. So I just feel like it was a really, really lucky. He threw it, he landed it. It is what it is. If he goes and does it to me again, then I'll be like, all right, I lost both fights. He did that shit on purpose.
So if you lose the second one, you'll be like, all right, you won. The
in the
first
same
one
fashion.
With the toe to the nerve.
Toe to the nerve. He beats me in a different way. He's only one up. But just don't see this guy beating me.
Now, how long do you let your body recover? So after you fight, how because I notice in a lot of MMAs they fight often.
Yeah.
So how long? How do you let your body recover? How much time do you take off?
Yeah, it depends on each fight. For me, a month or so, kind of just depends. Like I broke my foot in one fight, snapped the top of it. Had a Liz Frank surgery, was out for 2 years, and like it was that one fucked me up real bad. But it just depends how the fight goes. Like I wasn't too banged up last fight, but I had some lingering injuries from training camp. The sparring and leading up to fights is where a lot of the damage comes from, and then the fight itself. Yeah, usually you're real sore for a few days.
How crazy y'all getting in camp? Because I mean,
it's just a lot of training. You know, you're training twice a day. I feel like over the years, I started when I was I started fighting when I was 16, but started doing real training camps when I was like 18, 19 when I moved to Phoenix. I'm 29 now, so I feel like I've had a long time to kind of learn from each training camp, to where I've learned that sometimes less is more. It takes confidence to take a day off. It takes, you're gonna, because in your head you're like, I gotta hit this session as hard as I can. I gotta hit this next session as hard as I can. I gotta hit this next session as hard as I can. And you're not really recovering. You're not really getting the benefits from the first workout. So I feel like I've learned a lot. Diet, nutrition. I've got a nutritionist. I'm checking my blood samples, my saliva, stool, everything, and he's having perfect nutrition diet plans for me. I'm following that. And then, some days I will take a day off when I feel like I really need to, where I think some fighters aren't there yet.
Man, what you just said is how I be feeling about just a lot of things in life. It takes confidence to take a day off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I feel like it takes confidence to show up someplace late.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it feels like you if you're taking a day off, that means you're comfortable with where you are, and you should never really get comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially
different in your business because your body has to. You got to
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Body's got to recover, else that's where you're risking injury. I think that it's funny. I think that it takes confidence to take a day off. I think that was actually Chito's coach that said that I heard that from, which is kind of funny. But yeah, that one stuck with me. I heard that a long time ago, and I'm like, it really, really does take. Because I see guys at the highest level still will train hard Monday, hard Tuesday, hard Wednesday, to where I'm like, I don't know if that's, and I think everyone's different too. Everyone has different, injury prones or whatever. But for me, I feel like I've benefited so much from learning that. Like, just it's okay. And when taking a day off, I'm not talking about sitting on the couch all day. I'm talking about hitting some good stretching, hitting the cold plunge, hot tub. Taking the day as a recovery day.
Do you have any rituals?
I think I would consider the cold plunge a ritual. Okay. Like in camp, it's like every night. It's like I'm gonna do the cold plunge, and it's something you don't want to do.
Do you ever start looking forward to that?
The cold plunge?
Yes.
Very, very, very rarely. Like if I'm super fucking sore, I don't even know if you'd call it looking forward to it. Those cold plunges are a motherfucker.
How long are you staying there for?
I did 3 minutes for the longest time. This last camp, I was just doing 2 minutes at night. I don't know why. I feel like kind of a pussy for switching it up, and it fucked with me for a while. But I'm like sometimes I'll do 3, but for the most part, I was just doing 2 minutes. And I'm like, God, why am I being such a bitch? But hey, I still won, so I'm like, okay, that was okay.
Do you meditate in the cold plunge?
Yeah, you gotta. I feel like if you aren't in your breath, which can be considered meditation, just following your breath, the cold plunge is way harder. If you're in there and thinking, fuck, I need to get out, how much time's left, fuck, like it's way harder than if you follow your breath and get into a nice relaxed parasympathetic breath and just flowing with it. It makes it a lot easier. Still
you got
sucks.
So much under control.
I feel like I just learned a lot from wanting to be the best fighter of all time. Like I knew I have to cross off so many different skills to become what I want to become, and I feel like I just learned a lot doing that. Do
you feel like you're there now? Because people throwing shots at you like you are.
No, I feel like mentally, I feel like I just have a ton to work on. Especially with becoming more popular, making more money. It's like it's a whole nother mind game that I got to learn how to deal with. I feel like I'm doing a good job with it, but could always be better.
Having success is one thing. Maintaining it is another.
100%. Yeah, getting there's
hard, but staying up there's harder. So. I feel like I'm definitely the champ. I knocked out the greatest bantamweight of all time, but I got to defend the belt. That's where I feel like. Cause I don't feel like I'm walking around like I'm the fucking man. I'm the champ. I kind of am in a sense to where you got to a little bit. I have to have your swag, but I still don't feel like I'm there yet. Right. like Conor and Floyd, those pay-per-views those guys do. Like you look at the top 10 pay-per-views. That's what I want. That's what I want. I think this next fight will be a big pay-per-view. I think it'll be huge, but the next one after that, like I'm chasing. I want to chase these guys. Pay-per-views are hard to sell nowadays with the illegal streams and stuff. It's a different game. So I think it's a lot harder to get that million buys.
You putting a lot of pressure on yourself with the Conor Floyd, though. 'Cause, I mean, that was a big crossover event. Floyd Mayweather's a huge boxing pay-per-view star. You probably would have to look at the top UFC pay-per-views. That should be your goal, right?
Yeah.
Crossing over though.
Yeah, I think I guess I didn't mean it as I just look at pay-per-views in general, just combat sports pay-per-views. Like Floyd and I think Floyd and Manny just did insane. Floyd Conor did crazy. Yeah, Conor Habib was like 2.4. Like, those numbers are what I want to go after. And I'm not. Yeah, I get a lot of hate saying I want to do that, and they're like, "You want to be Conor?" I'm like, well, kind of. Like, I want to sell those pay-per-views, but it's funny how much hate you get wanting to chase like crazy goals. Like, if my goal is like I want to sell 500,000 pay-per-views, no one will talk shit. I'm like, oh, you could probably do that. I was like, no, I want to sell 1 million. I want to sell 1.5 million. Like, I want to be, I want to be up there. And I get a lot of hate. I've been saying that since 2017 when I was in the Contender Series. I was saying I want to be a pay-per-view star. Before I was even in the UFC, and doing the interviews to get into the Contender Series, I was saying that. And it's funny how it's all kind of played out to where it's like, I told you, motherfuckers.
It's shaping it. I mean, because they all come from the Dana White wheelhouse, right? Like that stardom, but also the talent. Do you lean into like when people are calling you out, like the Shakur Stevensons, and like do you lean into that stuff? Because Floyd, he kind of leans in and plays with that a bit.
Yeah, I think for certain audiences, you're the heel or you're the good guy. Like, but we've been talking a lot of back and forth with just me in general and boxers, all those boxers. But yeah, I think it's plant the seed. One of those guys are going to be could be maybe not the next Floyd. Will there ever be another Floyd? Probably not. But one of those guys. Planting the seed. One of those guys could be the big guy someday.
Gotcha.
Gervonta will never be the big guy. But you know what I mean.
A little shot. A little shot.
Yeah.
Who do you consider to be the best pound for pound in your sport?
Even though Volk's coming off that loss over Islam, short notice fight, risky. I personally would never do that. But it's kind of hard. Him or Islam. Islam obviously just knocked him out. But I still think Volk's a dangerous motherfucker. So Volk or Islam, I'd say are both top pound for pound right now.
Word. We appreciate you for joining us.
Absolutely.
UFC champion Sean O'Malley. You ever just feel like just want to punch one person just because they bother you, or
just Chito? Literally, the only person that I would like to just smack is Chito. Other than that, I'm not a violent person.
Don't make it personal, Sean.
Oh.
Keep it business when you get in there with him.
Because after you smack him, then what?
I heard Logan
Smack
Paul
him
say
again?
that about
Dildo Dennis. Yeah.
But it was real what he said. He was like, I wanted him I wanted to hurt him personally so bad I had to calm it down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I truly don't think it's going to affect me in the fight. Like, I just want to hurt this guy, because I know the best me that shows up is calm. And I've done it every single UFC fight. I never felt like I went into a fight and couldn't get that. And I don't think this will be any different, but, I'm very excited to get that back.
All right. Well, it's Sean O'Malley. It's The Breakfast Club. Good morning.
Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.